All right, today we are diving into something, well, something pretty deep. We're going to unpack a set of philosophical notes that tackle some huge ideas. We're talking truth, technology, and what the author calls the work of the soul. And it all kicks off with a question that feels incredibly relevant right now. And boom, here it is. The source material just throws this at us right out of the gate, and it really sets the whole stage. I mean, think about it. If we can't even agree on what makes a thought good or true, have our AI, our dreaming machines, already beaten us at our own game? This is the central problem we're going to explore. So here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll dig into this idea of a world without truth. Then we're going to turn inward and look at what the author means by the work of the soul. After that, we'll get into a whole new way to think about thinking itself. And to finish, we'll see how we can actually live with these ideas, thorns and all. Okay, section 1. Let's talk about the problem. The argument here is that we're living in an era of, and I'm quoting, postmodern thoughtlessness. And this creates a massive challenge for how we even begin to make sense of the world. Now, what's really important here is the author's very specific take on postmodernism. We're not talking about art or literature. No, this is about a worldview where the line between a carefully reasoned thought and a completely baseless claim has just vanished. And this is where you can really see the split. A thoughtful claim in this framework is one that's trying to connect to something real, to truth, to what the author calls being, which you can kind of think of as the fundamental reality of things. But a thoughtless claim, it doesn't care about that connection at all. And the issue is, our culture has started to treat them both as equally valid. So, if that's true, if that's the world we're in, we end up at this really unsettling place. Because if thinking isn't about finding truth, but just about making statements that sound plausible, then you know what? Our AI models are already phenomenal at it. For that purpose, they might just be good enough. Or honestly, maybe even better than us. Which leads us to this question. What role are these dreaming machines supposed to play in our lives? Are they tools that serve us, masters that will enslave us, or just a kind of salve, a soothing balm for our own confusion? So if the world of ideas out there is just total chaos, where do you even turn? Well, the source suggests the answer isn't out there at all. It's in here. And that brings us to part 2, the work of the soul, as an inner path toward finding some clarity. I mean, what a line! This really gets to the heart of it. It's saying that to truly, honestly engage with the world and with ourselves, it takes this deep, visceral courage. It's not just some intellectual game. It takes real guts. Now, the author introduces a really fascinating term here, Simcachiv souls. It's this vision of a sort of personal utopia. The whole idea is to find a symmetry, a balance with others, where our interactions are all about service and working together, not this constant conflict and competition. So, how do you actually do that? Well, the source kind of lays out a roadmap for this soulful warrior. Step 1, cleanse yourself of those divisive emotions like rage and ego. Step 2, work on studying your soul's light, finding a calm, centered inner state. And step 3, remember this fundamental unity we all share, that at our core, we are all brothers. Okay, so we've talked about the problem and this inner solution. Now we're getting into the how. I'll be honest, this next part is a little more dense, but it's where the author gives us a new framework, a set of tools for actually thinking about thinking itself. And the main tool is something called the Eliatic filter. Now, it's described as an ontological gauge, which is just a very fancy way of saying it's a tool to measure if an idea is actually connected to reality. Its whole job is to figure out if a position is truly thoughtful, meaning it points to something real, or if it's just fundamentally empty. And here's the key. When you push an idea through this filter, there are really only 2 possible outcomes, just like you see with these trees. A thoughtful position is like that living tree. It's rooted in something, in what the text calls being, or reality itself. A thoughtless position, on the other hand, is like that dead tree. It's connected to nothing, pointing only to what the author calls nihilio, the void. And, this isn't some new idea pulled out of thin air. It's grounded in some really old philosophy. The source brings up the ancient Greek philosopher Parmenides, who basically argued that you literally cannot think about nothing. For a thought to be a thought, it has to be about something. And this slide really shows us what's at stake. Following that path of thoughtful connection, it leads toward what the author calls divinity. And that's not in a religious sense, but more like a connection to a deeper, unified reality. The other path, the path of thoughtlessness, well, that just leads to fragmentation, disunity, and basically the death of meaning. Okay, so we've been up in the clouds with some pretty abstract philosophy. For our last section, let's bring it all back down to earth and see how the source suggests we can actually apply this stuff to our messy, everyday lives. I just love this metaphor. It's saying that a soulful life isn't about reaching some perfect, enlightened, detached state. No, it's about embracing the entire thing. The beautiful rose, for sure, but also the painful thorns. It's about being fully, honestly engaged with all of it. So, what does that actually look like in practice? Well, the source gives us a few pointers. It's about accepting life's bumps and bruises. It's about remembering grace and our connection to each other. It's about resisting that urge to just check out and detach. It means preaching less and feeling more. And maybe most importantly, it just means slowing down and being present right here, right now. And as we start to wrap this all up, the author leaves us with this pretty stark warning. This isn't just some personal self-help project. The ability to reason with each other, to have thoughtful conversations, is presented as being absolutely essential for our survival as a society. I mean, the stakes really could not be higher. In the text, thought is called a two-sided sword. It can connect and create, or it can divide and destroy. So the very last question isn't for the author, it's for you. This incredibly powerful tool is in your hands. How are you going to use it?